So, for the last day of our project, there's a bunch of things we need to accomplish in order to wrap it up. We're going to pretend I finished all of my facial features. So, at a minimum, you needed a head, you needed eyes, a mouth, and you needed one more feature of your choice, whether that was hair, earrings, eyebrows, etc. The fourth one was up to you. Um, Another thing we need to make sure we have on our project, as well as you can see on the wall, what's at the bottom of all the emojis on the wall? Yeah, basically the name of the emotion that you're discussing. So I'm going to show you an easy way to add that back in. So I want to add it, but clearly there's not a lot of room at the bottom to fit it. So I want to move my whole project. I don't want to move each piece because that would be a ton of work. So I can actually move all of my layers. I like to start at the top one, which you can see is like a selected, it's like a lighter gray. And I'm going to scroll down all the way to the pepper, and I'm going to hold my shift key and then click it. And what do you notice happened to all my layers? They're all selected. They're all highlighted. So if I do Control T to transform and like adjust my project, I can shrink it down a little bit and leave a little bit of room at the bottom for some text. So when we're working with our project, we never want something to like hang off the paper or be really close to the edge. We want to leave a little breathing room around the whole thing. So I'm going to maybe make it like something like that with a little margin at the bottom. Hit enter, and now I've got plenty of room for the text. So there's the text box is right at the lower end of this toolbar here. And there's a lot of options, but you only want to use the first T in the toolbox. And my best suggestion for you is to like click and drag it from end to end. Otherwise, it's not like a word processor where like when you get to the end of the paper, it skips a line. Photoshop does not do that, unfortunately. So I think mine was going to be Furious. And if you select it, you'll notice that like you could change your font at the top. You could change the size. So I know it only goes up to 72, but you could type it in and make it as like big as you want it. If you notice it's too big, it kind of disappears. So maybe 150. That's still too big. Like we talked about before, we want to leave like a little bit of breathing room. This is another way you could change your color. So why may I not pick like purple for my project? Go ahead, Mohit. Oh, that's one good reason. There's multiple. Good. That's one. I'm happy with that. What else is another reason I may not want to pick purple in relation to my illustration? Yeah, it doesn't really match. Like try and stick to a color that you see in your project. So I'm probably going to go with something in the green family because I have a lot of like greens going on here. I mean, yellow's nice too, but like what can be tricky about yellow sometimes on a white piece of paper? What's sometimes tricky about yellow? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Melissa. Yeah, it's hard to see like a lighter color against the like the white paper. So keep that in mind when you're picking your color. So right now I'm still in that like text editing mode, and once I'm happy with it, I can hit my little check mark, and you've got your little move tool, and you can shift it and adjust it as much as you need to make it look like it's nice and balanced on your paper, which is like our goal. One more thing I forgot to go over when I'm talking about picking out my fonts. Why wouldn't perhaps would you avoid a font like this for Furious? Oh, good. That's a great reason. Number one, it's hard to read. What else? There's lots of reasons. Noah. I agree with you. Why do like what physically about this font doesn't really show that emotion for you? Okay, you feel like it's smooth and calm. It's pretty uniform too. Do you feel like you would be like uniform and very exact and precise when you're angry? Maybe not, right? Let's talk about the thickness of the letters. So do you think something like do you think this font is a little bit more delicate or a little bit more intense? Good. Why do you think it's delicate? Yeah, it's really thin, right? So angry, anger, furious, it's a bold emotion. So if I want to go back and edit it, I could double click on that little T in my layers and it will select it. And that's why I picked something a little bit more bolder. Usually things like something with those little lines at the end, those are called our serifs. That tends to be a little bit more formal. So that's why I went with something just kind of blocky and bold and intense, kind of like the emotion, like something that's furious. Okay? So we want to keep that in mind too. Any questions about that stuff so far? Cool. There's only one tidbit more I'm going to show you, and then I promise we'll call it a day. When you're done, you're going to save your project and you're going to upload it to Classroom. Unfortunately, I can't show you the same screen you upload on because I'm not a student. You may notice that sometimes you want to be able to see like the preview of your work when you upload it to Classroom. So you're going to upload like the PSD version. So when you save it, it's going to, we always save to our computer. And we'll always save to your username, which is your school ID number. And then it's going to say it's a Photoshop type. So we save one version that way. And the other one we're going to save is a PNG. So a PNG is usually like a cutout file that doesn't have a background. And it's also crazy smaller. So Photoshop doesn't have an issue like storing it. And neither does Classroom. So in order to make it into a PNG, we go to File, Export, Quick Export as PNG. That's it. And you'll notice at the bottom it says PNG. You can give it the same name, so you'll upload both that version and the Photoshop version too. How am I going to know you're totally done calling it a day on Classroom? What should you do on Classroom so I know you're done? Submit it. Yeah, submit it. Hit turn in. Okay? And that way I know we're done, we're caught up, and we're good to go. If you finished today, don't worry. You finish tomorrow, don't worry. They're all good. And I think we have plenty of time, honestly. Do you have any questions so far? Okay, cool. Let's get going.